Today, I want to talk about the reasons you may want to eat a Mediterranean diet, why it can be helpful, how it can be modified. Hey, I'm Dr. A, and I've been seeing patients with cancer and chronic illness for decades. I've been teaching and researching in the integrative medicine space for 30 years now, and I use this channel to share information, answer questions, etc. We get a lot of questions about Mediterranean diet. Now, the first thing I want to tell you is there's tons of diets. They all have good and bad about them, and so does the Mediterranean diet. Why do I get so many questions about the Med diet? It's because it's the most researched. If you look, there's close to probably 12,000 peer-reviewed publications in the medical scientific literature about Mediterranean diet of both the standard and the modified type. And something being more researched doesn't mean it's better than another diet, but it means that there's a lot of research. We have a lot to, look at in regard to it. If you like a different diet, that's fine. This is just information for you. So the first thing is, I mentioned it's got a lot of research. If you look at PubMed, it's close to 12,000, or depending on how you do the search, over 12,000 hits on PubMed, so peer-reviewed medical research. It's been shown effective in most types of chronic type illnesses, cardiovascular illness, chronic inflammatory diseases, cancer in some cases, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really got a broad ability to affect people. Now, I said all diets have some pluses and minuses. What is the core of why the Mediterranean diet might be better? It really gets down to an inflammatory reduction in the body if you eat the Mediterranean diet correctly. Now, we use the Mediterranean diet as a base with people, and what I really want to talk about today is modifying the regular Mediterranean diet and how we do that for people with advanced chronic inflammatory problems and even some cases with cancer. So the first thing that you want to think about is no two people respond exactly the same to foods. So the first thing we have to look at with a patient is, do they have food sensitivities or allergies? Well, obviously we don't put those into the diet. So for example, if you're allergic to a certain type of sea creature that might be in the Mediterranean diet, we're not going to put that in there, right? If you're allergic to a certain type of other, protein or some other thing, or you're sensitive to it, we just leave it out. Why? Allergy and sensitivity in your foods create more inflammation, and the point of changing your diet is decrease inflammation. So first thing to think about is, great, we're going to do this. We're going to modify the Mediterranean diet. The first modification is remove anything you are sensitive to or allergic to, because that would just be at cross purposes. It'd be kind of dumb, right? We've got other content. We'll probably link at the end around food sensitivities. You can look into that and get a deeper look. The next thing is, and this might be one of the biggest drivers of the inflammatory decrease, is looking at the way that the Mediterranean diet decreases inflammation, other bad stuff. It is a generally whole food diet. You are not buying processed, preserved, packaged foods, artificial colors, all that other crap that we get in our diet now in modern times. And so right away, you're decreasing the toxic load and the inflammatory load of the foods. You're looking truly at as much whole food as you can get. So this is the first part of implementation. Number one, remove allergies and sensitivities. Number two, look at whole food sources to the degree you can to decrease all of that other chemical stuff going into your body. Now, generally speaking, there's a focus on eating whole vegetables, nuts and seeds. Herbs and spices are unlimited. They have all sorts of benefits beyond just tasting good. There's a lot of seafood in it. Now, some people have a lot of seafood allergies and we have to do some modification. Some people don't want to eat seafood or other animal proteins. You can modify that. But basically, the core of the Mediterranean type diet is going to be seafood and then extra virgin olive oil. And you do have to be a little careful, I think, probably anywhere in the world, but especially in North America, about fake olive oil. And there's a lot of online resources to look that up. Now, normally in a broad Mediterranean diet, we would also include broad amount of fruits and legumes, so peas, beans, stuff like that. We're going to modify that based on a bunch of things. One is your level of insulin sensitivity or insensitivity. So you have blood sugar problems, etc. We might decrease the fruit and the legumes. Do you have any allergies, sensitivities in there? We're going to decrease those, etc. Some people tolerate them very well, and we leave those in. Generally speaking, in a explain to patient whether they have cancer or chronic illness, the things that we would remove to modify the Mediterranean base would be the whole grains, potatoes, and then breads. And this is really, unfortunate news for a lot of people because those are the foods that they really like. The reason in many people we remove those are they can trigger more of an inflammatory insulin response. So if you're really sick, we might take them out in the beginning and then see how you do later on. The less stressed your body is, the more it will, accept some of those things. Now, normally they have a category called eat in moderation. So in the Mediterranean diet, that would include things like poultry, so things that fly, eggs, cheese, yogurt, things of that nature. Now, again, you might have sensitivities or allergies and you don't eat dairy, or you react to one of the fowl poultry that you might eat. Great, take them out. But those are, basically sources of protein and other stuff that might be added in periodically beyond the seafood, fish, and stuff like that. Rarely included is red meat, so periodic red meat. The things that you definitely would leave out would be anything that is sugar sweetened, so sugar sweetened beverages, added sugars, processed meat, and you might look and you might say, well, they're, naturally in many Mediterranean areas, there's, salami and other types of processed meat. The concerns with processed meat are generally around the chemicals that are added in modern times to stabilize and process those meats. So you have to be careful and thoughtful about that. You certainly don't eat any refined grain, refined oil, other processed foods. And as I said, no colorings and additives. Now, the other thing people will say is, well, okay, I won't eat sugar-sweetened beverages, but I'll have a diet, soda. Well, the problem with that is that also includes chemicals that are not natural and native to your body. So we generally don't include that. People do have, seltzer water, bubbly water, and stuff like that. And you can add, lemon or other types of flavorings to it. But the bottom line with this is, and again, you start with a broad diet and then you characterize it to the person, their insulin sensitivity or insensitivity, their food allergies and sensitivities. And then if you're really trying to go for like moderating the simple carbohydrates, you might change things. But the bottom line is, if you do that, you remove this giant chunk of inflammatory trigger called chemicals, additives, preservatives, etc. And you also, done correctly, modulate the insulin response in the body, bring it down to more of a just what you need insulin response. And guess what that does? That also decreases inflammation because the release of insulin is pro-inflammatory. Well, I'm Dr. A. Hope that answers the questions about how we might modify the Mediterranean diet, why the Mediterranean diet is, so well researched and so popular. And as I said, other diets are great too. We just want to talk about the Med diet today and modifying it. So I hope you enjoyed this. We're going to put some other links up here, some other information that you probably will really like. Check out the videos, like, share, subscribe. I'll see you all in the next video.